You good? Okay, this is a regular meeting of Town Council today, Wednesday, July 17th, 7:05. The meeting will commence. Attendance. What? Okay, I'm not going to go in the same order, but Jennifer,
Here.
Rita,
Here.
Tom,
Here.
Eric,
Here.
Hillary,
Here.
Penny,
Here.
Luke,
Here.
Kim,
Here.
Maria,
Here.
Christina here, Mike, absent. Anybody else?
Janet.
Janet. Okay. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we have. Hello.
Welcome.
Read us.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello. Would you like to tell us something about your troop?
We are Act 70, which is chartered by St. Mark's Church. And we have our chartered organization rep right here.
That's Jim's.
And we have 3 Cub Scouts. Each of them has 3 updates. Start here with Bear Cub Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Hey.
What do you want to tell council?
I just joined.
Great, congratulations.
We have 2 brother AOLs here, Arrow of the Play, transition into the troop next year. This is my son Tyler. Tyler, what do you have to say?
We just had a fun event of some ice cream where we launched rockets and we have ice cream on the street.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Ice
cream.
It's gotta be great combo. Ice cream.
And Arrow of Lake Connor.
So tomorrow we will be doing a
Nice.
That's great. Great activities.
We have good weather for that, maybe cooler. Good.
Did you know you've got 2 Boy Scouts sitting here in town council today? Right here and right there. So we both went through Boy Scouting. So congratulations on your Arrow of Light, and Nathaniel, congratulations on joining the pack. It's a great organization.
Legal.
Congrats.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Guys, you want to give a salute to the camera?
Very cool.
That is awesome.
Bye-bye.
Sean, thanks for bringing
Bye.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to move to add an item to the agenda. It would be item 7, blight ordinance, and it would be to vote on volunteer tax abatement, which was a determination made in the Bylaws and Ordinances Committee on Monday.
I didn't see it, but was there an email with the wording on the?
It's on the tablet, but let me give you, if anybody wants hard copy, I have plenty. Anybody else?
Yes.
You have more?
Yeah.
I'll second the motion to amend.
Okay, all those in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? No. The motion passes. Public comments. Any members of the public would like to speak?
Yes,
No, we didn't do that.
yes, yes. Yes, Betty Lebostic. I'm on Zoom. Hello, Betty Lebostic, I'm on
Hi,
Zoom.
Betty.
Yes,
Hi, Betty.
Just
I-
wait a second. Are we going ahead
Do
with
we
that?
do minutes first or are we doing public?
Do the public comments and then go to the minutes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so let's let her know when she's saying.
Can we get Betty on the screen or no?
We can.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, Betty, you may speak.
Oh, thank you very much. I sent my comments in writing and I addressed them to Mike Morrow, but now I realize he's not here, so I don't know if you have a copy of what I emailed around 5:30 this evening. So I'd just like to read it. It's about 2 minutes.
Okay.
And it's in reference to agenda item number 8, which is general discussion regarding the use of e-bicycles in town parks and on sidewalks. I have to thank all of you for bringing this important topic up for discussion, which I think will benefit everyone, young and old. For over 25 years, I live abutting Kiwanis Park, and I have seen just about everything going on with what looked to be dune buggies riding all over on the beach to ATVs going up and down the nature trails in the park and all kinds of things that I think are really a menace to elderly and young people that are just walking and trying to enjoy the parks and also sidewalks. So thank you very much for discussing this. I would like to recommend that the discussion be expanded, not just to electric and motorized e-bicycles, but to include electric and motorized scooters. And by scooters, I mean the ones that you sit and ride, but also the ones that you stand and they have a handlebar, because those are also motorized. And I've seen people without helmets all over in parks and also on sidewalks. I would also like to include all-terrain vehicles, ATVs, anything else like that. So not to limit it to bicycles, which I do think are a problem. And second, I'd like to recommend that the discussion be expanded, not just to the in-town parks, but also, and on sidewalks, but also to include the Helen and, I have a little note that just came up. To include the Helen and Alice Bristow Bird Sanctuary and Wildwood Preserve, which is not a park, but is to be preserved in perpetuity as a bird sanctuary. People seem to throw around the word Bristow Park, but I just want it to be expanded to the bird sanctuary and also to the nature center and any other asset that the town owns besides what we would call park, like Waveney Park and Irwin Park. So hopefully tonight's discussion, or maybe beyond that, you can establish guidelines for creating an environment where all residents and visitors could enjoy safely and respectfully our parks, our sidewalks, the bird sanctuaries, and everything that we have here that we hold very special to our community. So please, if you didn't receive my letter, I'd like to have it included as part of the record for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Russ?
Yes, I'm here. I can't start the video though, because a host has it stopped. There it is. There we go. Start my video. Okay, can everybody see me?
Yes.
Hi, my apologies for not being there in person. With the thunderstorm that just came through, we just ran 11 calls for service with the fire department, and I had just enough time to get in front of the camera and get changed. So my apologies there. For the item that was added, which is the tax abatement, myself and the members of the ambulance corps watched and reviewed the video of the subordinance committee, and we're supportive of it. Adjusting to make sure that it's compliant with state law, which says 25 years for retired members. And additionally, adjusting the process for poor Anne, who her and her team have been absolutely spectacular in processing the actual tax abatements themselves. And the last comment I would have is that ordinance has had a tremendous positive impact since it was done in 2020. In the 26 years I've been a volunteer, I cannot tell you, and I can't say it's solely attributed to that. I will also say that our new fire chief, Albie, has been absolutely incredible. And the combination of those factors have led to an incredible boost in recruitment and retention of members. I think we were, especially with the pandemic, in a not a great place, the volunteer fire department. And now we are absolutely in boon times where nationally and even regionally that is not the case. So thank you for keeping that ordinance alive. And we thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Russ.
Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Russ.
No other hands are up.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 12th, 2024?
So moved.
The time.
Eric? You
Eric.
made- Okay, Maria,
I'll
you
second.
second? Okay. Any comments?
I have a comment. There's just, it's a slight change.
Okay.
So so it's just in reference to, I was summarizing something that happened at the Utilities Commission meeting.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to clarify, it was referred to, I'm sorry, I gotta find hold on. Yeah, the committee reports. Thank you. But it was pulled out. Here it is. So under infrastructure and utilities, where it says Ms. Bettino mentioned a recent report from the Utilities Commission regarding buried utility lines. It actually wasn't a report from the Utilities Commission. It really was, it was a New Canaan resident that presented
Okay,
at the meeting regarding undergrounding utility lines. So I have a suggestion.
okay.
So I gonna make a motion or?
Just make the suggestion.
Okay, so I would suggest it be changed to, Ms. Bettino referred to a presentation that New Canaan resident Rick Crorkin made to the Utilities Commission regarding undergrounding utility lines. Yes.
Referred to a presentation of the Rick Crorkin made regarding buried utility lines and cell.
Yep, and the rest is right. And so I mentioned so she mentioned two things, that and an update on the current cell coverage study. That part's correct.
You could email me that language.
Certainly. Okay.
Okay.
And
Can
that's
we
it.
approve the minutes as
Yeah.
amended? Can I have a motion
Move to
to?
approve the meetings
To
and
approve
minutes as
The
amended.
minutes.
Okay. Vote? All those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Internal audit firms.
Good evening, Christina, and council members. My predecessor as chairman of the audit committee, Bill Perrett, who was chairman until December, that's when I took over. In his report to the council late last year, at the end of the audit of our financial statements, he did a presentation and recommended to council that we reactivate internal audit activities. This year, we haven't had any internal audit activities since before the pandemic. So 2018 or 2019 was the last time. So as a result, we the audit committee, together with Mike Mauro in his capacity as chairman of the council and the first selectman, formed an ad hoc committee to evaluate proposals to carry out internal audit activities. I should back up a bit, actually. We sent out proposals, a request for proposals. We, the finance department, late last year or early this year, and we got back six proposals for internal audit services, which we reviewed the ad hoc committee that is, and decided to interview 2. We rejected 4 of them for various reasons. They didn't have a local presence, they didn't have the skills we were looking for, that kind of thing. So we ended up with 2 who we interviewed. And those are the 2 names you see here, Clifton Larson Allen and Cohen Resnick. And we decided to recommend that we enter into a master service agreement with both of these firms because they bring very different skills. The first one has a local presence. Well, I mean, Connecticut, they're based in Hartford, but they have a small team of people who really do nothing else but audit municipalities, do internal audit projects on municipalities, mainly in Connecticut and Massachusetts. That is essentially all they do. The other firm, which is really, their people are in New York and New Jersey, has a much larger internal audit presence, practice, should I say, broader range of skills, but they do, private sector, they do hospitals, they do a whole range of work, but they have greater depth for some of the things we might want to do. So what we're asking is approval to enter into master service agreements with both of these firms, which is just the first step. What would then happen is that the ad hoc committee, together with management, will consider what projects we might do, or what do we actually want to audit. We're not there yet. We haven't started because we need the approval, and which firm might be the best to undertake a given project. That would be the next step, and then we would enter into a contract with them for that specific project. But step 1 is to approve entering into a fairly standard master service agreement with both of these firms. And we've said to them, and I will say to you, this doesn't guarantee that you'll get any work from us, because we may decide we want to do things that we don't think you have the skill sets for. We might, maybe next year, but not this year. So that's what we're asking approval for. There is some money in the budget. I don't know if Anne's online. I can't remember how much it is offhand. I don't know if you know, Anne, but there is some money in this year's budget for internal audit activities. It's in the number
about
that,
90,000.
yeah, I was going to say, my guess was 80, something like that. So there is some money there, which we will only spend if we decide there are things that we want to do that are worthy of having one of these firms do it. And then we would seek a proposal and say, this is what we want you to do. Tell us how much it's going to cost, and we'll go from there. So that's it, really.
Is this a contract for 1 year, or is it over a couple of years?
Can you remember? I think we were looking for 3 years.
We're looking for a couple of years because they only be able to do 1 or 2 audits a year. So it's looking probably about 3 years, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to have to go back through this whole
Yes.
process every year. I think it was 3
Right.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
I do. Would you remind me as to who does our audit now? The name of the firm, I'm blanking on it.
Who is our auditor?
Who does our audits now?
Okay. So, I mean, just to clarify, the audit of our financial statements, which is required by law.
Right.
Okay, is PKF O'Connor Davies. We put that out to proposal, and you've already approved their reappointment. We've got two proposals back, one from them and one from Clifton Larson Allen, actually, and we reappointed them to do the audit for. And how many years was it?
3 years. 3 years with the option to renew 1 year after 1 year at a time after that.
With internal auditing, you rather work with different firms, just because this is really a management function, just to keep it separate, and so they're independent. So I don't know if that answers your question. So PKF are our statutory auditor. That's required by law. There's no law that requires us to have internal auditing, but it's been discussed here in this room before. It's a good practice, and we want to start it up again.
And so what will these firms do? Are you looking for
We
a
d-
project?
We don't know yet. I mean, what internal audits typically do, I mean, there are a few areas. One is, examining risk management, risk assessment and how, and one that is obvious to all of us is cyber risk. So we might say, and I'm not saying we will, invite one of these firms in to look at our controls over the whole sphere of cyber risk and make recommendations. They might do that. Other areas that or internal audits typically do is looking at our compliance with laws and regulations. So that could be anything from state law all the way down to our own ordinances and internal policies and procedures and our level of compliance with that. But a lot of it is also looking at effectiveness of operations and efficiencies, which could be, is there a way to, like school cafeterias, to operate them more efficiently? I mean, those are the sort of typical projects that one would do. But no thought, and we can and will seek input from anyone, that including councillors, to things that we might consider, given as Anne said, 2 or 3 a year is probably all we're going to do. I don't know when we would start, whether we'll actually even get anything done in the 5 months that remain of this year. I don't know, because you've still got to go through a process of signing a master service agreement and then considering what do we want to do and when.
So you want us to say that we endorse you looking into internal audit activities with these 2 firms?
We want your approval to enter into master service agreements, which will now, they've got their standard master service agreements that they enter into, and then under that, get a project by project one. But those, if council approves, those will now go to our council to look at them. Is there anything in here you don't like before we sign it?
And the engagement letter will come back to you.
Yeah, so that's when we get to dollars.
So Rob, just to
No
clarify.
dollars involved.
So just to clarify, so if you enter into a master service agreement, but it's not like a contract, there's not a retainer, there's no money,
No,
it's
no
just
money
a,
at all. No.
No.
It's just, I mean, I don't know how it works with our legal counsel, but I mean, we pay them for work that they do, but we have an agreement that, we will, give them work. And I mean, it's similar to the sort of master service agreement with our actuaries and lawyers and other professional advisors. Yeah.
So
So that you don't have to have a lengthy contract negotiation every time you want to do a piece of work. It's just,
I have one quick question for Ann and then one for you. Ann, the $90,000 in the budget, that is for fiscal year 25 for this purpose?
Yes, yes.
That's not a 3-year.
No,
budgeted
it's 1
thing.
year.
That's 1 year. That's good to clarify. And then Robin, is it your expectation that whatever projects you look to have one or both of these firms do will cost $90,000 or less? You don't expect it to approach that limit?
well, I think if we've got work that we want to do that potentially would cost more than 90,000, then we will get proposals
Come
from,
back.
well, then we'll have to hold some of it over to next year, so we
Okay.
don't overspend.
Thank you.
I think it sounds like a good idea and a way for us to save potential money. I'm ready to make a motion to approve if you'd like, Christina.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the appointment of Clifton Larson Allen LLP, parentheses CLA, and Cone Resnick LLP to provide internal auditing services.
Maria? Rita made the motion. Maria second.
No, Kim made it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. Yes? Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you very
Rob.
much. Plan of Conservation and Development. Dan Radman. And Sarah Carey. And John Chris.
everybody have one of these? You all set?
Yes.
Do we have an extra?
Do you have an extra?
Yeah.
No, this is, is that here?
Oh.
We have the presentation.
Extra.
That was mine.
Somehow.
That's okay.
Thank you.
There you go. That's all right. I got brand new one. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you went to Dunkin'.
Paper right here.
Yeah.
So good evening, everyone. For those of you who I've not met yet, my name is Sarah Carey. I'm the town planner, and I have Dan Radman, the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and John Kriz, the chair of our POCD subcommittee with us this evening. Tonight, we are here to give you a very brief overview of the POCD adoption process that kicked off today. I will be reviewing very quickly the role of town council over the next 65 days, review the purpose of what a POCD is, give an overview of how our POCD was developed, and then explain the layout of the plan before you all deep dive into this very lengthy document. As of today, a 65-day public comment period began that will end on September 20th. During this time, which is mandated by Section 8-23 of the Connecticut General Statutes, Town Council must endorse or reject the plan. No time extensions, unfortunately, can be granted during the 65-day comment period. And so within this requirement of you to endorse or reject the plan, you essentially have three paths you can take. You can endorse or reject the plan in full. You can endorse the plan with proposed amendments, or you can endorse sections and reject other sections of the plan. And throughout this 65-day time, as you're evaluating the plan, by statute, you are permitted to hold one or more public hearings, although that is not a requirement. If you do elect to hold a public hearing, we will attend the public hearing along with our planning consultant, SLR International. So we'll coordinate once you all determine what you would like to do. And then after the 65-day period, planning and zoning has to hold their own public hearing before they can adopt the plan. Purpose of this mandated 65-day comment period is truly to give you all, the legislative body of the town, a time to review the plan and propose any amendments or, highlight things we may have missed. It's also time for the public to give a final, chance to review the plan and provide written comment. And on this slide, I've also just provided my email address in case you all get questions from constituents about the plan, just everything, all public comments, all questions should be directed to me. I'll be coordinating all of that. So that's kind of the brief overview of the process. Before I get into the technical side of our plan, any questions so far about the 65-day? Yep.
I have a question. So you said people have an opportunity to weigh in. So how do you address those comments, and how do you incorporate? Do you incorporate them? Do you think about them and review them and decide whether or not you want it? Like, how does that work?
Sure. So the Planning and Zoning Commission as a whole, once the 65-day period is over, will be given all the comments from the public, from town council, and then they will have to review them individually. And after the 65-day period, the Planning and Zoning Commission has the right to amend the plan. So they will review everyone and they will vote whether to incorporate those comments or not.
So the commission decides that. There could be like conflicting comments. And so
Correct.
you
So
would,
they'll-
as a group, decide, oh, we reject this, we take this.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Thank you.
A quick question. On one page, it refers to our job to either, in one of the bullets, endorse or reject the full plan. 2 pages later, it says what the plan is goals. And so will it be all right for us to endorse them as goals as opposed to policies?
Correct. So, and I get into this a little later into the presentation. The Plan of Conservation and Development is a live document and it's meant to be goals. And, this is a 10-year period, which is a long time. A lot of things change over 10 years. So the purpose is to promote ideas of what may work for the town over 10 years. And the purpose is to really evaluate what we're stating in the POCD. What we suggest may not be viable, we may realize in 5 years. So it really isn't meant to, pigeonhole the town.
Because we hear comments it's the law of the land, it's the law of the town, it's the
Yep.
people's will. It's tantamount to a charter. It's not that.
Correct.
Okay, any other comments?
Is this the 98-page document that is, as of today, available to the public?
Correct. It's been posted on the planning and zoning
Thank
website.
I have to commend you on the amount of time you're giving people to comment in the different ways. So it would be really hard. And I'm sure people still have not heard about it, but you've done it in so many different ways to give people opportunities. I commend you on that, on being able to do that.
Thank you.
My comment is more logistical. We don't meet in August and then we meet September 18th. So how are we going to do this that quickly? Because the deadline is September 20th, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's up to the chair.
We'll create a system whereby all the questions get funneled in and then the document is created. We all get to review it and then we present it to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
But that doesn't give us enough time to actually have discussed it as a body as to whether or not we then want to have a public hearing as part of our negotiations.
Well, I think that given that it's almost August, we're gonna have a special meeting to discuss it and just dedicate all that time to it. And then we'll decide to have the public hearing.
Idea.
So is that the recommendation then coming out of the body that we have a meeting in August?
August, can we
August
do
or
after
September.
Labor Day?
I mean, what happens if you reject it? Does that give you more time?
There's no.
I don't think we should reject it.
65-day window.
Yeah. That doesn't do anything. I mean,
Gets stricken.
I think that the best thing is for each one of us to review it, absorb it, write down your comments, anything that you'd like included or excluded or revised, and then send it to me. And we'll create one document, we'll review it upon our meeting and then discuss it further.
do you have a date that you're thinking of that you would like our comments by?
Why don't we say the middle of August?
I still think we're going to need a
With the
meeting.
intention of having a special meeting.
No, we'll have the meeting at the beginning of September, but at least the middle of August will give us enough time to organize it and put it together.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so you mean our normal September meeting.
No, additional.
An additional one. I'm for that,
additional early
yeah.
on.
Yeah. Great.
So,
No.
Say it's gotta be early September because
Right.
if we indeed, we're gonna have a public hearing, we're not gonna have enough time to actually call one, have it properly noticed in the newspapers and the likes. And then that's gonna generate an enormous uproar in the community that they haven't had a chance to discuss with us.
if we have the questions back by say, August 16th, that would give 2 weeks to put it together and we can have the meeting on Wednesday, September 4th, if that's okay with everybody. And that would be 2 weeks prior to our meeting, which would give us enough time to publicize the public hearing.
And the public hearing would be on the 18th during our regular meeting?
Yes. We can have it at the
Does that give
beginning.
enough time, Penny, do you think?
Right.
Can I ask Sarah?
Question, so if you're suggesting that it's up, is it already up on your website?
Yeah.
Correct. it
So
is.
are you guys doing anything to publicize it like through Deanna's newsletter or so that we're
Yes.
not the only, like, people now know that they can engage with it and start sending us questions?
Yes, so we have an email list from our community survey that we had in September, which has about 500 emails. I've sent an email out there. We've done a press release, and in the August newsletter that Deanna is sending out, we plan to
Excellent.
do a release.
Yeah, and maybe you can sort of juice it with Mike Dinan or something, like
Yeah.
that would help us and with encouragement to share there.
Are we the only body that has to approve this?
So Westcog also has to
I knew about.
review
Westcott.
it, but other than that, it's only town council.
I wonder if we ought to just establish a public hearing date now.
So people know, but August is not a good time for people.
No,
No, in
in
September.
September. I would never do it in August because, everybody's aware.
When we've had the public hearings, we usually have it an hour or two before our regular meeting, so we can have it on the 18th. of September, which would be our
And it's
regular meeting date.
really late. Because
The only comment I would make is sort of based on the kind of the response with the bylaws and ordinance group with the paving of the sidewalks or the ice in the sidewalks, that people still seem to get tense when they feel like we've left it to the last minute. So it might be valuable to have it prior to the actual 18th.
Okay, so then if we have the questions back by August 16th, we can have a meeting to review it on Wednesday, the 21st of August. And then have a public hearing on September 4th. I wouldn't recommend a public hearing in August. That would be a huge mistake.
I'm comfortable with those dates. I just, to put this in perspective, in contrast with the Bylaws and Ordinances Committee, where it was the only platform to comment. This is not that. I mean, there's been extensive public review already. And by the way, it's not just ours as a body, it's Planning and Zoning Commission. It's the most important body of all in this process. So people will have extensive opportunities to chime in. I don't think they'll feel like, oh my God, we better get to the town council public hearing, because it's the only place where we'll have a voice.
I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with the process that's suggested, but I don't think we should get too panicky about.
are you, I think it's static right now. You're not having any more meetings on this.
Not have any meetings during this 65-day
thought-
comment period. So we have to hold off. on-
Right. So the public will not be.
People responded.
Days, you start a decision-making process.
Correct.
So that will be public.
Correct.
And we will hold another public hearing.
Kim, you had something to say?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering, like, how many people responded to the survey and then how many people participated in all of I went to one of those sessions at LAPM. It was excellent. I really thank you for doing that.
Yeah, so we had, the first survey, we had 2,000 respondents. Our goal was 400, so we blew that out of the water, which was great. Our first workshop in October, we had about 70 participants. The one in May that we held, we had about 50. We were averaging about 25 people at our other public engagement opportunities we had. And then the other surveys that we had throughout the process averaged about 100 survey respondents.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. You did a lot of outreach and I got lots of emails on that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Tom, but I think sometimes the town, is going to see it from a different perspective with the town council. So I'm going to suggest that maybe we meet August 28th instead of the 21st, and then maybe hold the public hearing on September 4th.
August
And that
28th
gives
is the
2
night
weeks.
Before school starts. I don't think that would be a great date.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Then we could do it another night if town hall's available, but sometime when people are back to prepare for their kids to get, they're back from the summer.
Well, but that wouldn't be in August. The 21st, I think is a good date on a Wednesday. And furthermore, we're the elective body, planning and zoning isn't. So really it behooves us to have the public hearings and get as much input and included or not into whatever recommendations we want to give to.
There are two of us down here that.
We know we have a
21st
conflict.
is a conflict.
It is?
Just for us.
me.
I mean,
I don't think this one's available.
Okay,
Why don't-
what
why
day
don't-
is
I'm sorry.
available?
That's from, I don't can't go up the town hall calendar. Something happened. I just know that
I can't even.
Maybe we should do this offline,
Yes.
knowing that we want to have a meeting of the town council, then we want to have a public hearing, and then we want to discuss it on September 18th,
Yes.
and we'll table this for logistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just suggest the meeting be that week of the 26th. Maybe not the night before school starts, but maybe the Monday or the Tuesday.
I know that Tuesday is a planning and zoning meeting, so not that Tuesday, but otherwise.
But it's just, would it be critical to have P and Z there if
just
we're
mean
just
this room
discussing
would be-
our possible
Yeah, they-
amendments and changes?
Available, that's all I
They
meant.
would like to be there. Yeah,
We-
we'll
You would
figure,
like
we'll
to be
figure it
there,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Offline.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
But we have decided that 16.
Yes.
Will be given to you.
Yes.
So we should plan for a public hearing as well, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. So just coordinate that with us so we can make sure our
Absolutely.
consultant's available as well.
So
Another question or?
One last question.
Okay.
So when you're discussing all of this, do you have like a set of criteria that you are balancing or that you're comparing the comments to that's kind of guiding your decision?
So I will turn that over to John or Dan, since I am not the final decision maker on this.
Well, we have a precedent here. We have a 2014 POCD that kind of established the guideline of the, you know, the starting point of how we were going to draft the new POCD. All of us have been using that 2014 version as a barometer for evaluating applications that come in, understanding, you know, how a certain application or a certain special permit or whatever it might be will affect the town relative to the guidelines that were previously established. So that experience that we've had over the last 10 years is really guiding us in how to finesse the POCD moving forward for the next 10 years. And what you'll see if you compare the two, this one is there's a larger focus and a better clarification on the goals for affordable housing, for example, larger scale development, different established zones and criterias within the central town area. Just a little more clarity and definition compared to where we were with the previous POCD. We're not losing any of the old information. We're still touching on all of the critical things that everyone wants to see in the POCD between, you know, strengths of the schools, sidewalks, walkability in the town, you know, small town New England charm, and trying to maintain that because it is a planning and conservation document. So we look at it with that lens of how do we establish a guideline for the development in town for the next 10 years that will still help to conserve and maintain the integrity of the small town feel.
Thank you.
So, you know, I believe we kind of went over this, but a POCD, just so you all understand, as I had stated, is really a set of goals, and, you know, it can be amended over its 10-year lifespan. And it's really just relating to conservation and development within the municipality. And, you know, most importantly, it establishes a future land use plan and, you know, determines the community's long-term goals. And at the end of the day, what it's really used for is just for the Planning and Zoning Commission to, one, prioritize planning initiatives. So, you know, after the 2014 POCD, one of the #1 priorities was trying to rationalize the Cross and Beatty Street neighborhood and what should be done with it. So they then had a planning study done to revamp the zoning regulations. So that type of planning initiative. And then, as Dan just, you know, touched on, the commission members use this plan when they're evaluating zoning regulation updates and other development applications that they have to review. And then it's also used to coordinate whether municipal improvements like sidewalk expansions, road expansions, align with the goals set forth in the plan.
It's also, as if whoever's watched some of our hearings and our applications, it's used by the applicants very often, specifically their attorneys, and referenced as being consistent with the plan of conservation development. So when they come to us for a text amendment or a special permit for a particular piece of property, they're using it as validation for that change and that modification, in that it will be in keeping with the intent of the POCD. So it's as much a guideline for the public and the applicants as it is for us.
Sometimes, given case, you might get it cited for contrary positions from both.
We've tried to clear that up in this round.
Yeah. Trying to avoid that.
So this graphic that I put together is really meant to just illustrate for you all how this process went and how we got to where we're at today. So the green ovals represent when we had community engagement opportunities, and then the gray black ovals represent when we were doing behind the scenes work. And, you know, the point of this graphic is to really just show you that at the start of the development process and throughout every single significant portion, we went back to the public to make sure that there was consensus around what we were doing. Because now that we are at this 65-day period, you know, we want to make sure that nothing's coming as a surprise to the public, to you all. So, you know, while we do have this comment period, we are hopeful that, you know, this plan is diverse and is really speaking to the community as a whole, and that there will be consensus, you know, as we gather this final round of feedback.
The last thing we wanted was, someone touched on it earlier, comments coming back from the public and the town that they weren't involved, or that they didn't know, or they didn't have the opportunity to speak up. We've given plenty of opportunity over the last 12 months of providing a forum and a platform for everyone to submit their comments and review the process.
One of my priorities as chairman was that I wanted to ensure that everyone had a chance to speak to the subcommittee directly in various forums. We've had 5 very well-attended active forums. There have been written comments provided to Ms. Carey, articles in the newspaper and other information. So I think people are well aware of what's going on. And we've done it in various steps so people can see which way we're going. But one of my priorities was that New Canaan being New Canaan, people are very involved. They want to have their voices heard, and we've done our best to be sure that that's the case.
I'm sorry, I just have to say, you guys have done an exemplary job. I mean, it's phenomenal what you, not only the outcome, but also the process.
Okay, and then last few slides, I'm just going to go over the format of the plan. So when you all are looking at this lengthy document, hopefully you have some sense of what we're talking about here. So, we start with an introduction, and then we deep dive into a analysis of existing demographics, so census data and land use conditions, meaning, what our current zoning regulations are versus what's actually on the ground. It's zoned residential. Is there a church there? Is there a house there? That type of thing. And then that analysis, along with, the feedback we got from our first survey in September of last year, was used to draft this community vision statement, which is meant to capture New Canaan's identity and really envision the future over the next 10 years. That is followed by our theme chapters, which are really the actionable items that the town will consider to implement or not over the next 10 years. That's the main section of the plan. And I have a slide after that kind of explaining the structure of the theme chapters. We then have a future land use plan, which mirrors pretty closely our zoning regulation map, or our zoning map, that just kind of talks about, where do we want to see a little evolution and how things are zoned in the future, although it's not changing any zoning or anything like that. And then the last sections of the plan is a section on consistency with regional and state plans, which is mandated by the statute that we must address that. And then we have a few appendices, one being the implementation table, which I'll also address in a slide. So we have 4 main themes that all have different actions. After that, these are, very detailed descriptions about the themes, but just so you all understand, the 4 themes are: preserve New Canaan's welcoming small town identity, promote creative balanced development. That's really our housing chapter. We then have embrace sustainability and resiliency, which is our conservation and environment chapter, and then enhance community infrastructure and facilities. So, as we've kind of discussed already, the purpose of tonight isn't to get too far into the details about the plan itself, but just so you all understand, since the theme chapters are really the main sections of the plan, this is kind of the breakdown of how those chapters are structured. So sorry, just have my notes. Come straight from the plan, and essentially each theme was created based on our community survey results, land use data analysis, and staff local knowledge. And so each theme has a goal, which is a broad ambition relating to a specific topic within the theme. There are then multiple strategies listed within each goal that further refine specific ways to attain that goal. And then underneath each strategy, there are targeted and unique actions and policies that the town can employ. So while, it says policy, that is still something to evaluate whether that policy makes sense or not. So it's not necessarily leaving the town on the hook for anything. And then just one final note on the implementation table of the POCD. We have one similar to one that we had in the 2014 POCD. It has not yet been completed. That will be completed in August by myself and our planning consultant. So as you're reviewing our strategies and actions and policies, if you note anything and have comments of, well, I like this strategy, but I don't think we should be considering it until 5-10 years from now, please let us know, because that is not set in stone yet. And the implementation table is a live document as well. So we may say, yeah, in 3 to 5 years, we should look at it, but we could change that in the future and realize that's more a 5 to 7 year item. And okay, that is everything. Any questions?
When is your public hearing gonna be?
It will not be until after September 20th. The Planning and Zoning Commission wants to see how many comments they get before they nail down the date. So
Okay.
it'll probably be late September or early October.
Okay, thank you.
So even after we've had an opportunity to give the public opportunity, there'll
There
be
will be
more
more
opportunity.
opportunity.
Okay,
Yes.
just, that's good to know.
When you refer to implementation here, I've done a quick look through the longer
Mhm.
document. That basically refers to those action steps
Correct.
and what actions will be taken, you say by which bodies and at what time frame.
Correct.
Yes, okay. So that's a guide as to what we're going to implement. Yeah.
When does that come into being?
That should be coming in mid-August. We just have to
Oh.
finalize it. So it'll be before the 65-day comment period's up. We just not gotten that far yet.
Are we supposed to comment on that as well?
There's no requirement to.
So we are, the town council, just to clarify, we're endorsing the plan and then does P and Z officially adopt it?
Yes.
Like that's the last step. Okay.
And just to clarify, if, which hopefully it does not come to this, if you do reject portions or all of the plan by statute, the Planning and Zoning Commission can still adopt the plan. They just have to have a 2/3 majority vote.
Good luck funding them.
Sorry, guys.
In favor of where the expertise sits, I think.
Yes.
I think it's also worth mentioning, in addition, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of it, but in addition to all the public input, there's been extensive meetings and input from all the town bodies, fire, police, DPW, everybody has had input on this, and we've taken it very seriously in trying to craft it as best as possible.
Huge undertaking. Thank you. for
Thank you.
all your
Thank
hard
you
work.
all.
We'll be back with comments.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Just again, for everybody, when should we have questions? When will we compile questions? Because that's the first task.
August 16th?
August 16th or earlier, however soon you have them.
We send them to you, Christine?
Okay. Finance update, Josh?
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Hi.
Where's everybody else today?
I will share my screen, but
Can
since
you-
it might be a little bit small, hopefully you have this on your tablets.
Josh?
Yes.
Can you hold the presentation for a few minutes?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't. 5 minutes?
How long is your presentation?
I could do it in 5 if you want me to.
Why don't we just do it in
Let's just
5?
do it in 5.
He's.
Come forward.
So ask Josh if we can just.
Josh, can you hold off 10 minutes?
The agenda.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Where are they on the agenda?
Don't see it.
E-bikes. Item 8.
Hi. Chief.
Okay,
I don't
well,
have a presentation. I just saw that this was on your agenda, so
Well-
we're here to have a discussion, answer any questions, but I don't have anything to present, so.
no PowerPoint?
No.
So fundamentally, we're just getting this concept process started. I think the thing we most want to know about, what are you seeing out there? The e-bikes and scooters, if we added that electric scooter, what challenge do they pose from a health and safety perspective in the community?
They're out there, the kids have them, and obviously the main concern is the speed that they go, the ease that the kids can use these, and how fast they can go on them, and how recklessly they can drive in and out of traffic. It's much easier than a regular pedal bike, so there's that concern. And we're seeing the same things that you're seeing, is the kids that are kind of flooding through downtown, riding through traffic dangerously, and those are concerning to us. And
What
you know,
age group?
teenagers,
Okay.
kids that are old enough to drive aren't riding e-bikes. So it's, you know, probably the kids that are under 16, maybe, you know, 10 to 15-year-olds.
Do you have effective tools for solving any of the
Well,
problems?
you know, it's not solving it. They are juveniles, so there's not a lot we can do to them as far as arresting them or giving them tickets. We call their parents, have them come pick their kids up, take the bikes home, give them a warning. Generally speaking, e-bikes have to follow the same rules of the road as any other bike or any other vehicle or any other car. You know, so you know, they're required to obey the traffic laws as anybody else. So if anybody sees anything going on, you know, particularly in the afternoons or whenever these kids are out.
It's a lot more pronounced today. Like, I would say like a year or two ago, it was like, you know, sporadic, you'd see a couple. And now it's like, you see 4 or 5 down South Avenue, down Main Avenue, and it's a lot more pronounced. And
I think just people are getting more and more of them. The kids are getting more, and they're seeing their friends having them, so they're getting them.
and then they get the Vespa, and now they have the motorbike, and it just seems like
Yeah, those are a little bit different because those are powered by an engine. So
no, they're electric. They're all electric.
yeah. So, but the e-bikes are specific. They're can only go, you know, 750 watt motor or less, and there's very specifics to the e-bikes. But, you know, that's generally.
Are there
What are the rules? Like if, you know how like there are rules if you're in a parking lot and even if you're going really slowly and someone's speeding, but you back up into another car, you're responsible. Like, so if an e-bike, even if they're a juvenile, but they come off the curb and, you know, they hit a car or like, does the law?
They would be responsible, but again, they're a juvenile and they're riding a bike, so it'd be similar to anybody on a pedal bike. So the law says that e-bikes are the same as any other bike or any other.
Is the motorist always responsible because they've hit a bike? Even
No,
if
that's not accurate.
Would parents be held responsible if
They
their
could
son
be.
or daughter were like, are they're not following the law? Are there fines? Like what other, I understand you can't arrest kids, but
No, but
are there any other
there is
tools?
provision in
Like,
the statutes that say that parents can't knowingly allow their kids to violate the law. So
and
if they're,
do they get a fine or?
they
how
could,
does that-
yeah, it would be an infraction. It depends on what the violation was, but if a child was riding an e-bike dangerously or violating some sort of traffic regulation, the parents could be held liable for that.
You could hold parents responsible.
Yeah.
And have you done that?
No.
So we can write an ordinance to prevent them from going on the sidewalk or parks or whatever, but we can't write an ordinance, to my knowledge, affecting traffic in the road.
You can write ordinances regulating bicycles, e-bikes. You can write an ordinance requiring a registration of an e-bike. So if you know, somebody wanted to ride an e-bike, they'd have to register it with the town, like you would have to license a dog or anything else. So you have the authority to regulate bikes and where they can go and what they can do.
So maybe.
One of my
Maybe
questions.
I'm sorry, Kim, one suggestion would be for the chief to write something so that we could consider it in terms of what to include and what's within our ability to do.
Do you feel like you need our help with this?
I can send you the statute and it clearly states what you're allowed to do.
One of the things that I was interested in is the registration process, and you mentioned that. So I know that there's some bikes that kids can make go faster. Like, is there some way to regulate when they register, you know, the speed
Yeah,
of the bike? And
they would have to register the make and model, and the manufacturers now are required to put on the bikes the speed that they can go, the wattage of the motor, and so a couple other things. But it's all in the statute that I could forward to you. You could read.
I don't want to, I'm not done yet. I don't want to add more work to your job, but would it be possible to go through any training that's required for students, for kids to use these bikes? Would that be too onerous for the police department, or send them somewhere? I mean, because I feel like the kids are not following the rules, even if it's not the police
Yeah,
department
I
that's
doubt the
providing
kids
the
that are
training.
going to go to a police
Yeah, they're
bike
not.
camp would be the ones that are not.
But
gonna
we could
follow.
require some kind of training so that, because they don't know the traffic rules. They don't have their license yet. So like my kids have studied for their permit. They learn a lot when they get their permit, but these kids are on the roads. They're not following the rules.
It's
They
not
don't know the rules.
I don't misunderstand. It's not a licensing to drive the bike, but you can sort of register what the bike is. So if Joe Smith has a e-bike, they have to license the bike and then register the bike and what it is and what its capabilities are. So it's not giving a juvenile a driver's license for a bike. That's
No,
not,
I know
that's not
that, but I was wondering if there's any training that we could put into an ordinance. I don't know if that's legal or not, but I just feel like the kids don't really know what the rules are.
Well, now
And
that
I
we
know
have
it's not.
SROs in the elementary schools, we're hoping that we can maybe do that. That might be part of the curriculum that we can have our new SROs pursue is giving some bike safety rules and lessons.
Rather than, I mean, we could all come up with suggestions, but I think, I guess I would ask you, do you need our help? Like, what can we do to help you fix this problem? Do you feel like you have it under control? Is there something we can do that can
No,
help
you know,
bolster to get this issue
just
addressed?
get the message out that if your child is riding an e-bike downtown, they're probably one of the ones that are doing this. We don't see a lot of kids riding bikes the way that they should. We see a group of kids that are riding the bikes the way that they shouldn't be and dangerously. So if your child is riding their bike downtown, you might want to take a closer look at them, maybe want to take a ride down and see how they're behaving and police your own children.
So you feel like by writing an ordinance, it's not an exercise in futility. It helps you do your job better.
It certainly could, you know, if we have a situation that we want to address and we can come up with some language and some things that we want to regulate, that's certainly within your authority. And if we need to, we could do that.
So besides registration, what other things do you have in mind?
You know, like I said, if you're riding a bike, you're required to obey the rules of the road as any other bicyclist or vehicle. So we have that ability. Like I said, they're juveniles. So perhaps an ordinance that says if a juvenile is found doing something, the parents will be fined or something of that
Can
nature.
I have a raise your hands to speak because,
You're right.
okay, Rita and then Maria, please.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there's something on the books. Parents can be held responsible, but to me, it feels like it might be an awareness issue. Town council writing an ordinance, I mean, they barely, no offense, but the public's not really listening to all these meetings or know all the ordinances. It sounds like to me, what you could really use is an awareness campaign, which is like a marketing and advertising campaign that I don't know who would do to let people know, look, this is, this is happening. It's against the statute and we will be holding parents responsible, something to that effect. To me, it's more like an awareness campaign to let people know more than it's writing another ordinance, because it sounds like there's already something in place.
Yes, and if you follow Darien-Ann's Instagram, they just put something out a day or two ago about e-bikes and requirements of wearing helmets and things like that. So it's not just us.
Yeah.
Right here today, now, do I need an ordinance? No. If I do, I would certainly come back and request that if I had something specific to ask. But just knowing that you have the authority to regulate bikes, you should know that. And we'll continue to look into it.
But there already is something on the books that's regulating it. Yeah. Okay.
But it doesn't seem like, it seems like you need more. That's what, I mean, just
Well,
from
they're
the amount
juveniles.
of
There's
complaints
not a
I've
lot we
seen
can
on
do
New
with
Canaan
juveniles.
moms.
There are other people that still want to speak, so we have to give everybody a chance.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're both saying, Rita. If this was vaping, the schools would work together with law enforcement to put education out for parents. I would guarantee parents don't even know what the rules are. So almost a letter that may come out, not to volunteer someone who's not here, but maybe Dr. Lutzy might work with you to put something out that just very simply explains what's allowed and what isn't, and what the rules are, what the laws currently are, before we
I
make something new.
I don't want to overcomplicate it either. Like I said, it's riding a bike through town.
I think it's a
and to do it
safety
safely.
thing, though.
So,
I mean, I know we did things to our bicycles that my parents had no awareness of. We didn't have motors yet, but maybe parents truly don't know what the parameters are for e-bikes. So something that, assuming we need to educate the parents, and theoretically the information will trickle down, but maybe that would be a place to start.
Going through the schools gives you a bullseye on that demographic.
Right.
And it's the fastest way to communicate it.
Christina, can I add?
Yes.
So in addition to obviously Board of Ed and Dr. Lutzy, but Health and Human Services puts out I forget the name of it, but it's like a monthly newsletter. Sometimes, you know, for the vaping thing, they've done it with New Canaan Cares, but New Canaan Cares is the lane of like vaping and addiction. So, but maybe the liaisons with Health and Human Services could get this into that newsletter too. Because I think people do read that.
Through, like Christina said, the targeted audience is through the schools. Maybe they could put it together, you could put it through the
New Canaan
the legal
Cares.
information.
That could be another avenue. New Canaan Cares. There are a lot of
Yeah.
organizations in the community that could help spread the word as long as we.
And what I'll do is I'll get our middle school SRO to really push hard on that, because that's probably
The age
the
group,
biggest
right,
age
yeah.
group that's concerned. And ahead of school start, because a lot of these kids ride these bikes to school too, and you know, they're going down South
yeah.
Ave at 8 o'clock in the morning at, you know, 20 miles an hour, which
Yeah.
is kind of dangerous as well.
Dangerous for
with
pedestrians.
just a helmet just kind of dangling on their head.
It's
So
low compared to what I've been seeing around town.
yeah, they shouldn't be going over 28. The e-bikes, the class 3 e-bikes can't go over 28 miles an hour, which a person under 16 cannot ride a class 3 e-bike.
You just see them, it's a lot more frequent. It's a problem that didn't exist. I mean,
Yeah.
dial it back 2 years ago, it wasn't even a conversation, it wasn't even something.
Short term, I'll get our middle school SRO on top of this and make that one of his primary campaigns ahead of school start this
Okay,
August.
Eric? Tom?
Middle school SRO, reach out to parents, even though, I mean, obviously school's not in session anymore. And it'll be September before kids are back in school. And most of this e-bike riding and scooter riding is going to happen in the next 2 months, a lot more than is going to happen in September, October, supposedly.
Yeah.
So this SRO can start working to reach out and communicate and build awareness with.
Well, I think he's
parents.
going to be most effective with the school community
Yeah.
as we approach the school year. You know, that's one aspect of this. But as far as between now and then, you know, our officers are still patrolling. We're stopping the kids. We're calling the parents to come and pick up the bikes when we identify them. But as far as his role, I would like to see him as we get closer, when you know school are going out, to start raising some awareness to it.
My biggest.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Excuse me, Eric. There may be some things a few things around the edges that we could tighten up the rules, like what age to wear a helmet. Just throw that as an example, the ordinance would be totally appropriate for that. There's also these educational initiatives that we could maybe help to energize, but 2/3 of the issue is going to be enforcement. I mean, if the word gets out that Charlie got busted, I mean, that's going to have a much bigger impact.
Yeah.
You know, than us talking about it.
When Charlie's 13, he can't get busted.
No, but I mean, if
His parents get
if
busted,
he gets
they
driven
are-
home to his parents. So to your point about
Well, that-
maybe some leverage against the parents is something we should look at.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up, Rita. Les?
Can you confiscate the e-bike if they are
Wow. good
riding
point.
against the rules?
Take it and
I mean,
Return it
not
to the
keep
parent.
it,
For
just
a
take
day or
it. Say
two.
you were against the law, take it.
it's not something that we have the authority just on the face of a person riding it. We can't confiscate it and seize it for
Yeah.
a week. But if you wrote an ordinance for that, then perhaps we could.
Can you impound it? Is that different?
Well, no,
No,
we
okay.
have to give it back to the rightful owner. We can't. steal-
One quick thing, because I know you're trying to wrap, I'm really fast, but I did want to just, paying respect to Betty's comment, just then as liaison for conservation. I have been, in Bristol with Chris Shepherd explained to me, it is a problem there.
They're
and
not
so
allowed to be on the trail, so
you said it's not a park. Does that mean it's not covered?
on any trails or anything like that. So if you see anybody on a bike, e-bike or otherwise, call us and we'll try to identify them, try to.
Okay, so you would be able to
Yeah,
find
that's,
them or do whatever.
that's already a town ordinance, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Nice job.
Josh, we're back to you.
Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen again.
Straight to jail.
Town
We've got room now.
lowercase and town park upper.
All right. So in front of you and on the tablets, you should have the preliminary year-to-date financials as of June 30th, 2024. I say preliminary, obviously, because we are still booking expenditures that are coming in back to FY24 now that we're in FY25. And we're still booking little bits here and there of revenue. So these numbers obviously will change until the audit is finalized, and we'll probably have like a look back in a couple months to see where we're at when we get closer to what the final numbers should be. But starting at on the revenue side, the overall revenue is at 101.44% or 2.3 million over what was budgeted. The budget of 162.9 million. This is led by tax collections at 101.17% or 1.7 million over what was budgeted. This represents about a 99.3+% collection rate by tax collectors. Down to building permits are at about 125% or 216,000 over what was budgeted. I know that number has ticked up since then, so I think it's closer to 225 or 250 or so. And this is trending up from last year by 118,000. Conveyance fees just hit the mark at 105% or 85,000 over what was budgeted. It's still on the kind of downward slope back to what its normal rate is. From last year, it's down about 80,000. Parking missed by a little bit. It's at 88%, which is under by about 100,000, but it's still ticking up from last year by about 16,000. Interest on investments is obviously kind of one of our big standouts this year at 172% or 650-ish thousand over what was budgeted, trending upwards from last year at by about 188,000. Tipping also kind of missed the mark at 71%. And we think there's a possibility that some of that revenue needs to be booked back from 25 into 24, or that it's kind of just not shown in this, but has since been booked. But right now in this in front of you, it's down by about 130,000. Any questions on the revenue side of things?
Josh, can you clarify? I'm sorry. Can you clarify what tipping fees are again? I'm blanking.
Sure. Tipping fees, I believe those are the fees that garbage haulers pay at the transfer station.
Got it.
Yep. When they drop off the loads.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. If there's no other questions, down to the expenditure side of things. Right now, it's about 98% of the total budgeted expenditures, with about 4.2 million remaining. This number does include about 1 million in encumbrances that we're still waiting to see kind of how much of those become actual expenditures, and doesn't include another payroll or half a payroll by the town. So we're kind of seeing, we're looking back towards the projections we made during the mill rate and seeing how kind of close we are to those. On the revenue side, we think we're going to outperform that by a little bit. On the expenditure side, we think we'll outperform what we had expected also, by a couple 100,000 or so.
Great.
Any questions on these? Or
I have just a
Go ahead.
quick question, Josh, on the revenue. And I just wonder if you can just briefly comment. I noticed the interest on investments is up considerably, 172%. Can you just comment on why that is? I mean, I generally know why it is, but
I think it's a combination of a couple things. I mean, there's obviously favorable market conditions. Ann's also done a really great job at making funds available for the treasurer to invest more quickly. And I think those are two of the main driving factors that have kind of pushed this up. Obviously, it's led by favorable market conditions. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I noticed your third bullet here. So we have these items, education, BOE anticipates 800,000 in savings. All those things are already factored in and are no surprise, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Josh.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne.
Okay, light ordinance.
Or are we gonna do the volunteer tax abatement
Yeah.
first? That,
Oh, okay.
did you want to put, it doesn't matter. You,
Yeah,
Okay,
that-
whatever order you want to go in.
Yeah, so. But you have the embarrassment of riches on the bylaws and ordinance committee. 8 members of the town council have already been through this process. So this is for Luke and. Hi, Luke. Basically, there's for several years, there's been a tax abatement for volunteer firemen and first emergency medical technicians. There's a disagreement in the statute as to how retirees would qualify for this. There is a provision if you do 20+ years of volunteer service, you can get a tax abatement like actives do. And in the current ordinance, it says that requires 20 years of service to qualify. But in the state statute, it only authorizes us to give that benefit at 25 years. So we're proposing, and I'll read it, that the definition of eligible resident in ordinance chapter 57, article 7, volunteer tax credit, section 57-23 be amended by replacing the number 20 with the number 25 each place it appears in such definition. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second that. All in favor? Easy, thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
So we're extending the length of service required in order to qualify for the abatement.
yeah.
So that's perceived negatively by the volunteer people, right?
Russ said earlier that he was.
No, I know he loves it. This is why I'm a little confused. I want to
It's state
understand
statute.
exactly what we're doing.
It has to be in line with state statute and it's 20, it has to be 25 years.
there's a state enabling statute that permits municipalities to provide a volunteer tax abatement. And so we've elected to do so, but the enabling statute, the relevant enabling statute says that you have to be a retired person who qualifies for the volunteer tax abatement. You have to have served 25 years.
Right.
Our ordinance was written at 20 years, so it's inconsistent with state law, but we have to write it so that it is consistent with state law. It's
And-
just
and this
essentially what
is-
we're doing.
And historically speaking, the reason there's that discrepancy is because we established 20 years before the state had established 25. So it's just kind of, we missed.
That's true, actually.
I thought it was. It's not true?
No.
The state did it 2016.
That's right.
We
you-
adopted this 2020.
Oh,
It
got it.
must have just been an oversight. We just used the wrong number.
But I think Eric,
Oh, okay, sorry.
somebody who's volunteering now and has 20 years of volunteer service
Fine.
and decides to retire,
We'll have to wait 5
will
years.
have to wait 5 years to get that abatement. So that's what I mean. Somebody who's currently working and is only 20 and doesn't have the 25 will perceive this negatively.
Well,
But
I
that's,
mean, I'm gonna just, I mean, so possibly, but the way this came about, because, and we had a meeting earlier this week, is that it was on the advice of council, to the town, that we be in line with what the state statute was.
I agree that. I'm just.
Question is yes.
Yes. And I'm unfortunately was not able to participate in the July 15, that would have been this Monday, meeting on this, or I would not be asking these dopey questions.
not a
I just
dopey
wanted to
question at all.
understand.
Well,
Yeah.
They're good questions because I
Thank you.
asked the same question and said, could we change it to 10? Because obviously that would be better, but we were advised to be in line with the state statutes and the council advised us to do that. So, yeah.
And then,
If part of you, excuse me, but if part of your question is, do the volunteers like this or not like it? That would be a good question for Russ.
I can say from at least the fire department standpoint that it has no impact currently for anyone who is receiving the benefit who would drop off the list. There are only 4 people who are over 20 years, of which 3 of them remain active members. So they're still already covered because they're still active. And the other person has, I want to say, close to 40 years of service. So it's not going to affect them either.
Not
So at
an
least for the
issue.
fire department, there's no impact. I'm not sure about EMS. If anyone who is now retired who in theory would lose it, would have to go back in. But I think again, the point is this, it's the state statute. So
Yeah.
it kind of is what it is.
But you wouldn't lose it. But if anyone who has already retired at 20, they get it. This is for anyone like coming up at
No.
19,
No,
right?
no, no.
So at 20, right, already?
You have to
They've
have
already given it
achieved
to them? Have to have
25 years of volunteer service.
once this is adopted,
So if you've only done 20, that's not enough. You got to
you've
find 5
retired
more
at
years
20.
of volunteer service.
So
Unless you're
if you've already
active.
retired at 20, so you've retired and you already started getting the abatement, you would no longer get the abatement.
Well, you
I'm
got
not
the
sure we
abatement
have
as an
that
active
case.
member,
Yeah.
just to be clear,
Right.
like active members get the abatement. But secondly, you mean if somebody, is there anyone
already
that's
retired
retired?
We did have
receiving it.
discussion.
We had this
It is,
addressed.
there's like a bit of a grandfather. If you've already retired at 20 and you were given the abatement, you continue to have that abatement.
So
That does not go
retired at
away.
23 years.
Yes, it does. If you're at 19 and you're about to go to 20,
I don't
then
remember
you win
that
it.
question
You
being
did.
asked.
Yeah.
That was, we covered that. We covered
did
that in the
cover it,
meeting.
and it's kind of like
He said that, yes, you
grandfathered
would get
in.
it.
You're like grandfathered in.
Please.
Okay, well, that
You're
answers
right.
that.
Yeah.
And I don't
Just
even
to
know if
be
it applies to
clear,
anyone.
just-
It doesn't apply to.
Right, but just to be clear, and we can make sure we can confirm this, but in the meeting that we had, we did ask that question because we were worried about folks who are already told they could have it. So they've retired at 20 years. They were told they could get it. According to the attorney, because I think one of us asked the question, he said, no, at 20, if you've already been given it, you don't get it taken away. Like, it doesn't go away. Anyone new coming up, it affects them. That's what we should, your grandfathered in, but we should probably confirm that.
But there is nobody, so that.
It doesn't matter.
Only for fire. I can only speak for fire. I cannot
We don't
speak
know
for
about
EMS.
EMS. Yeah, we don't know.
Tucker, is that
about EMS.
across like EMS as well? EMT?
Believe they're all over the 20 years. So there's nobody that's currently retired. They're all still active. So there's nobody.
Right.
That's currently retired that's getting it.
That's not an issue.
So my question is, what actually is the abatement? Is it a percentage or a dollar? What is it?
$2,000.
Okay.
A year,
If you
a
live
year.
in town, if you live out of town, it's just a portion of the property tax. It's maximum.
And the abatement is on what tax? Property tax. Wow, that's really
And
nice.
The retirement piece is only for those who remain residents of New Canaan. So if they move out of New Canaan, it stops, which when we originally proposed the ordinance made sense from a logistical standpoint, and the fact that it also encourages these people who've done a lot for the community to stay in the community. So
I think it's great. These are all clarifying questions for me. Thank you.
Okay, next, Tom?
Oh, did we vote on this?
Yeah.
Did- We had a first.
I
and
made a
second.
motion, you seconded it.
Seconded, so-
We had a discussion.
We voted already.
Yeah, we did. Then we had the discussion after, but we voted. We're all set.
Okay.
Okay,
Are we gonna do anything on blight?
yes.
Are you gonna call for a vote?
You did vote. You did. You already voted and then somebody brought up, had a question. You already-
No, we didn't vote.
On blight?
Not on Blake.
We haven't even talked about, like,
We didn't even discuss blight.
we're not talking, she's not talking about blight. She's talking about.
No, we've got another ordinance,
Right.
number
Okay,
7.
second vote.
Time out. Can we just vote again? All in favor of the motion to adopt the volunteer tax abatement amendment? Please raise your hand.
Everybody? Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay. So the blight ordinance, this is another amendment that we discussed, not at our last meeting, but at our July 1st meeting. We have, it was a unanimous vote to accept changing Town Code 7A to include commercial as well as residential properties in the definition of blighted premises, so that it would apply to any and all blighted premises, excuse me. And to increase the maximum daily penalties for such violations in consistent with state law, what the state law allows. And we would also do another minor change of the definition of blight to delete the word extensive from extensive graffiti to simply graffiti.
Yes.
So I move to adopt the proposed revision to Town Code Ordinance Section 7A to apply to all blighted premises, not just residential, and to increase the maximum daily penalties for violations and to delete extensive from the definition of blight to simply say graffiti.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, second? Kim? Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous.
Thanks all.
Committee reports. bylaws and ordinances.
Here we go again. So on Monday night, we did a final vote. Apologize that process got a little confusing before that, but we had a definitive final vote on Monday night to reject the proposal to transfer obligation of snow and ice removal from sidewalks to abutting property owners. And that vote was 7-0. And Eric indicated, he wasn't there, but he indicated that he also supports that. So effectively, it's 8 members of the town council rejected that. We also talked, we started a discussion about a somewhat bizarre case law where people want access, non-residents want access to public parks. And the courts have said because they have a right of freedom of expression in that space, you have to give them access. And so we got legal counsel involved in that discussion of what does that mean for our ordinance? We have one ordinance that says non-residents shall not have access to public parks. So for openers, we're pretty sure that would have to be changed because we wanted to conform with case law. He's also going to look at other ways that this might impact our ordinances. But I think that one of the most insightful points was made is that if we have restrictions on fees for swimming pools and paddleball courts and whatever, chances are, as I understand it, we won't have to struggle with that, because if you take Waveney, for example, if you have a need to have a meeting or display signs or protest or whatever, you can do that in 99% of Waveney Park, and that's permitted already. So we're just conforming the ordinance to that. You probably don't need access to every facility in order to have your rights of freedom of expression. So there may be other minor points, access to exercise free speech on sidewalks and whatever, that's sort of under study, and we'll continue to look at it in future meetings.
Okay, is that it for bylaws and ordinances? Education, Maria, Rita?
I don't think we have a report. Their Monday meeting was canceled, so.
The only thing I want to say is the Saks court, the basketball court is underway. They're doing a great job. It's going really quickly and it's going to be beautiful.
When is it going to be finished? Do they know?
I know it's going pretty quickly. Yeah, before school starts, but I don't know like the exact date, but it's
Nice.
looking great. They're doing a great job.
Okay, finance and government, Eric and Hillary?
I actually have a report. Josh covered a good part of this, but July 9th, we held a meeting with Todd Levieri and 2 other members of the Board of Finance. Ann and Joshua were there. Deanna was there. I, Hillary, and Christina attended. Todd ran through a summary of the deliberations in arriving at the new mill rate and gave a lot of interesting statistics. Many of those were covered in the letters that he had previously published, but it was helpful to hear it again. We had a lot of clarifying questions just back and forth. Josh touched on the 99.3% collection rate, which is above their budgeted 98.5. So that was a real positive. Generally, Todd said they don't expect any real surprises, but there may be a modest increase in revenues by the end of the actual year and through the audit, and there may be actual reduction of the expenses. So
great,
it all looks good. And as I said, Josh covered a lot of the update, but it was helpful to have that meeting, if for no one else, certainly for me to
It's very helpful.
get an update. So thank you.
Health and Human Services, Kim and Janet?
Say I watched the meeting and I found it helpful, so thank you. Yeah, I just want to highlight a few things tonight about what the health department's doing. They have a community health initiative that, well, they've had it for a while, but they do a lot of things in town. So I just want to let you know some of the things that they've done. This month, they did a blood screening, a blood sugar screening and a blood pressure screening at Lapham and the schoolhouse. They did suicide. They've been doing ongoing suicide prevention training. They have a training coming up at the library in July. They started a new thing called skin cancer screening, and local New Canaan resident named Dr. Eldermole is donating her time to screen residents, and she's actually also seeing them pro bono to take care of any skin cancer issues that they may have, which I thought was amazing. The health department's also offering, and they've been doing this for a while, but just to let people know, free back to school vaccinations through the Connecticut Vaccine Program. We did have our first West Nile virus positive mosquito, so that's not unusual according to Jen Allison, but I just wanted to let you know that. And the sign-up system that is on the website to sign up for different Everbridge alerts is also something that you can opt into the health sign-up. And Jen Allison reported 1,400 subscribers, which is great. She also has a Facebook page. And it's just a way to learn what's going on. Like there's also something they're doing now called Walking for Wellness, which started in July. They have 12 residents walking in Waveney Park every Tuesday, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So I just wanted to report on that. And then in terms of human services, one thing that is pressing is the food pantry is down on donations, and they're going to try to work on ways to get more donations going. And the last thing I just want to report on is the committee itself is focusing on developing their priorities so that they can inform the budget process, because the budget process did change quite a bit for Health and Human Services, or at least the Human Services part. So they're trying to ramp up and get a hold of what are the priorities, and they're going to dovetail that with the New Canaan Community Foundation is doing a behavioral health survey. So they're going to be kind of in an iterative process to try to figure out where do we want to help New Canaanites, and where should the funding go for next year. So that's it.
Okay, Jennifer, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to add a teeny bit more with, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Kim, about the, so it does sound like the food pantry, it's pretty dire, like how understocked they are. And Marcy, the interim human service director, said, I think they may try to coordinate something with a back to school food drive. So I just thought it would be good awareness for you guys to have that. And then I think they're also going to try to do a good push with like interfaith, like the houses of faith. So anyways, any connections that we all have, because it seems important to get that back up to where it should be.
Can I get a quick clarification? That's one mosquito, not one infection. Is that correct?
One mosquito.
Okay.
Only.
Okay, infrastructure and utilities. Rita, do you want to go first?
Please. Go ahead. No, please, go ahead.
Okay, as you all know, we toured the police station today and the Playhouse. I thought that they were very educational for everybody to get up to speed and to see the quality of the work that's being done. So thank you to all that made it possible. Waveney Roof, there's a study undergoing now regarding the leaks that are in place, and a company has been retained, an architectural firm out of Westport, to do that study, and then will be decided how they move forward. Playground at Waveney, as you all know, there have been many questions about it. Is presently under an additional fundraising campaign, which is expected to wrap up in November. And hopefully the equipment installation will take place around April of next year. So that's about it for now. Next is land use, recreation, and conservation. Penny and Jennifer.
Recreation is moving through all their summer programs. They're full, they're active, and moving right ahead. The Waveney Conservancy has purchased another bench, you know, this piece of
Infinity.
art sculpture, and so that will be delivered probably the end of the summer or something. But other than that, nothing going on.
Where's it going to be placed?
I think at the top of the hill overlooking the pond.
At Waveney.
Letting.
Conservancy is not going to put it someplace other than
That's actually a great location. And to your point, the sledding, that's huge.
Except when sledding happens.
I think all the parents would appreciate that.
So can I just add from Robin Bates Mason shared with me from their yesterday meeting, FlexiPath, the FlexiPath in Mead Park, the parking lot to Bristow is going to be installed by the end of July. The new gate into Bristow from Mead Park has been installed. It's next to the baseball field. And what's good about that is if you have any challenges, if you're elderly or disabled, it's a easier way to access it than trying to skinny your way through the gate up into Bristow. And I had reminded everybody about the centennial celebration on September 8th, and there will be an author and ornithologist, David Sibley, and there'll be some other entertainment things. So again, mark your calendars for that.
Okay. Public safety, Hillary?
You all went to the tour of the police, or several of you went to the tour of the police station, which Christina already covered. It seems to be going well on budget and on schedule.
I was so impressed with Turner, I have to say, especially with them in terms of safety. I just, they're really buttoned up. They were professional. They really seem to have the project under control, and they're just doing it. It seems like they're doing an excellent job. Yeah.
Affordable housing, Hillary?
We're still working on identifying sites for our next affordable housing development, so that we can hopefully get another 4-year moratorium. As far as I know, the moratorium application is still pending. Tucker, do you know? It's still pending, right? With the state. So that's assuming we get it at some point, that 4 years, the next 4 years won't start. So we have identified about 6 or 7 potential sites, all town owned, mostly parking lots, which adds a layer, but there's grading that we can work with. And so I think our next step, at least from the site development point of view, is to rank the potential sites and have a consultant that could do some real architectural sketches and come up with a cost. So we're moving along.
Okay, so that's it for the committee meetings. I just want to go over again the dates. Friday, August 16th will be the deadline for the questions, or sooner. The sooner you can get it to me, the better. And then on Wednesday, August 21st, or August 26th, which is a Monday. Does August 26th work for everybody?
Oh, no, but it's not, things aren't gonna work for everybody, I guess.
Is town hall available, Tucker? Oh, you don't know? Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wait for the confirmation, and then we're looking to have a public hearing on September 4th. So put in your calendars, and we'll move along with that until there's a problem.
September 4th would be the
Public hearing, and then the 18th is our regular meeting.
okay, so we would have a special meeting of just the town council on the 21st or the 26th of
Yes,
August. to
yes.
discuss. Okay.
Okay,
Oh, in terms of our availability, or how's that gonna work?
what? I'm sorry.
In terms of the 21st, the 26th, do we just let you know in terms of our availability, or is it just?
Yeah, well, we're gonna
To wait
first
till
find out
determined.
the conference room
Conference room first,
issue.
okay.
Okay, but tentatively, that would be the day.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Look, okay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.